this guy like influenced pop culture in probably in ways that he could never imagine.
Yeah,
And
and it's which sucks for him because he was not successful during his life.
no, he was one of
He
those.
barely subsisted on his writing, basically.
Yeah, well, Poe died broke too.
Yeah,
There's so many
it happens
people.
a lot to artists. Yeah, or
Yeah,
a lot of artists and writers and stuff end up dying before their work is appreciated, and they become really famous and successful from their work.
yeah.
And H.P. Lovecraft was one of those didn't really was not successful in life. He was not like even very sociable or
No,
I wouldn't say he was a shut in, but he didn't really.
he was a bit of an awkward guy. He was an introvert
Yeah,
for sure, I would say.
yeah,
He was
definitely.
also, I mean, he was also quite racist.
Yes.
In like that's kind of the downside to this guy. Like, yes, his work is immaculate and he's
Hmm.
beloved and celebrated, but I mean, it was the 19th century, so I mean, just about everybody from that time period thought that way.
Yeah.
I'm not excusing them, but that's just that was the times.
Yeah.
But
He was a product of his time.
yes, but yeah, he was. I just feel that we should address that because in several of his works, the N word is prominently there. Like, for God's sakes, he names a cat the N word in one of them.
Hmm.
So I don't want to turn this into like a whole like crusade, but I just figured it should be addressed that he felt a certain way towards a certain group of people.
Pretty much anybody that wasn't like an Anglo-Saxon,
Well,
essentially.
yeah, I mean that was the time period.
Yes.
That's how everybody who was white basically just viewed things.
Yeah.
Or
Unfortunately.
Protestant too, probably. If you weren't Protestant, then like they probably then that was probably it. But yeah, he wasn't appreciated. Like his work wasn't appreciated. He didn't make any money like while he was living, and now it's just the publishing companies, I guess, that make money. He he did have a wife, but I don't know if it really like. I don't think they got divorced because it wasn't common there, but I don't think it was like really like a full thing.
It was rumored
Um,
that he was actually asexual, that he didn't really just
yeah,
care about sex or intimacy at all. He was just, he was a kind of an awkward guy. He was,
yeah,
which again, I guess kind of, made his writing like all the more intense and creepy, is that he kind of like, he was a very strange guy, so he was able to put that strange, thought and into his writings and create this universe, the Cthulhu mythos. Um,
right. Which
I-
he actually got the idea. He actually started writing the Cthulhu mythos when he was in New York. Like he had moved from Providence to New York when he got married,
mhm.
and then he had started writing like some of his best work when he was living in New York. I guess because he hated being in New York,
Mhm.
so it just kind of like left him with these. It kind of I guess I don't know if it was like the busyness of it or he just did not like it. There was just
Yeah,
something about the city that he couldn't stand, and he just started working on the Cthulhu mythos,
yeah.
as well
Well,
as
again,
like the horror
he
of
lived
Red
his
Hook,
entire life.
and he just
He lived his entire life in Providence, Rhode Island. So
yeah,
moving from Providence, Rhode Island to New York City is a big
it
change,
is in any time
especially
period.
especially for someone who is like socially awkward and uh, possibly even I wouldn't say agoraphobic, but definitely introverted
Yeah,
for sure. Um,
I wonder if he. I mean, I wonder if he had like. I wonder if he had autism or something, and like it just wasn't diagnosed because it wasn't discovered at that time.
it's possible. I mean, they think a lot of people throughout history might have had some form of autism or Asperger's, like Leonardo da Vinci. I think they've theorized that. just because he was like so intense with his mathematical skills, and also was kind of a strange, socially awkward guy.
I could see that for Nostradamus as well.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, also Nostradamus was like, he was high a lot.
Well,
so maybe not.
I would say all great prophets throughout history were probably getting stoned constantly.
Oh yeah. You can't think of you can't think of most of these things that they theorized or came out, which like many of them turned out to be true.
Yeah.
You can't have those as sober ideas much
Well,
of the
there's
time.
a lot, there's theories that, the human brain can act as an antenna, essentially, and when you enhance it with psychedelic drugs, you can connect to another plane of existence. And so that these people that were prophets, like from, Bible times all the way to like, Nostradamus and stuff, when they were doing psychedelics, they were really connecting to another plane of existence. And that's where they were getting all this information from, is this other, their brain was picking up, extra dimensional beings and stuff like that.
Right. Well,
So
that's what that's what they say about the third eye.
Yeah.
That the third eye is the antenna. If you don't know what the third eye is, look up just look up like the Indian spiritual teachings with like the chakras.
Yeah.
The third eye is it's in the center of your forehead. It's also called the pineal gland, or it's in between your you can't see me, but I'm like rubbing it now. I'm like just kind of like rubbing the area where it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be in between like slightly above your like it's in between your eyes but slightly above them, like in the center of your forehead basically. And it's like the pineal gland is like sideways. It kind of looks like a pine nut, and that's kind of where that comes into. But there's like a lot of conspiracy theories that like the fluoridation in the water was like meant to suppress that and like to keep the third eye a little bit closed. So like you have to just kind of like awaken it to like go into like these other dimensions where you see like twisting tunnels or whatever, and you kind of start to see like what's like, you like kind of go a little bit interdimensional and you like see what's really going on.
Yes.
In a way where like we're like spiritualists. I don't really know what they're not. I can't really call them shaman, but like I don't know, the Zen people. Sorry, that's not really that's probably not the name for it. But
spiritualists,
like,
shamans, like
Zen people. I don't know.
Yeah.
The Zen folk. Like the Zen folk will tell you that like if you haven't awakened the other chakras in order, like you have to go from like the lower parts of your body to like the upper parts, where like this where like the third eye is it's the first to last one. Like the next one is like the only one higher up is at the crown of your head, where you can like get the full ascension when you get all seven aligned.
Yeah.
A lot of them say not to do it out of order, because then it'll mess everything else up. Especially if you start by opening the third eye, because your body is apparently, because you haven't developed the other chakras, your body is not ready to handle it. So like what you see can like really mess you up.
I've heard that with certain psychedelics, it oftentimes you'll see things that don't like, that would be scary or angry, like but because it's a lot of self introspection. So if you're I'm trying to think of the words I'm like looking for. If you have darkness in your mind, it'll come out when you connect, because that's like, you're attracting that, it's. So it almost becomes like too self-introspective for certain people that have like, dark thoughts or something, and and then dark things will manifest because of that in their trip, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's why I've never done psychedelics, because I'm afraid of what might show up. Like I know they say
Interesting.
to I know they say when you're gonna do these sort of things, you need to be like one probably around nature and two like with a group
Yes.
of friends that can
You need
like
someone to trip sit you,
yeah
basically. Someone that's not getting stoned with you, that knows what's going to happen, that can like calm you down if something goes wrong.
yeah. So like I have not experimented with psychedelics. I don't like while there is like a curious nature in me, the I would say the other 99% of me is just like let's not open that door.
Well,
It's
it's like
I don't
you
know
don't know
what's
you're
going to
going
be
to
on
see
the other.
Cthulhu. Cthulhu could be
Yeah,
on the other side for all we
he
know.
very well
I
could
mean,
be.
that is a really within the Cthulhu mythos. A lot of the horror comes from the fact that these beings, these extra dimensional beings that are so powerful and extra dimensional and extraterrestrial beings and that are so powerful and so beyond the scope of human understanding that just the thought of them would drive a person insane, a regular person.
Yeah, and
And
the sight of
they and
them,
could
it's set like just a glimpse of
yes,
it is just enough to just completely like shatter you.
and they communicate with human beings through dreams. That's Cthulhu,
Hmm.
lies in the sunken city of R'lyeh, dead and dreaming. So Lovecraft. I don't know if he did experiment with psychedelics, but a lot of his lore kind of goes into that little, opening the third eye and telekinetic connections
Right.
with extra dimensional and extraterrestrial beings, which is a lot of spiritualists and Zen people will talk about a lot.